What is going on, everyone? My name is the California Cougar, and today I'm going to be talking about the Survivor Edge of Extinction finale. This is basically my Survivor Edge of Extinction finale preview, so I'm going to be going over who's still left in the game, who I think could return from the Edge of Extinction, who I think the jury will vote for, and pretty much who I think could win the game. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to start off talking about the 5 people that are still left in the game, not on the Edge of Extinction. So first up, we have Rick Devens, who everyone is trying to target right now. He's played probably the hardest game since the merge. He's been looking around for idols, finding idols, getting secret advantages from David on Edge of Extinction, and then yeah, he's won a few immunity challenges. So basically, he's good at puzzles. So yeah, basically he's the one that everyone's trying to get out now. And I love Rick Devens. He's one of my favorites in the game right now, and I'd love to see him win. I think he's a worthy winner. The one question for him is, since he too is an Edge of Extinction returnee, he actually returned from the Edge of Extinction at the merge. Since he is an Edge of Extinction returnee, would the people on the jury want to vote for him? Because he was already voted out once. Would they want to vote for him? That's really the only question mark for Rick Devens. I think if Rick Devens wasn't voted off at all, he'd be the clear winner. Although based on the edit right now, it seems like Rick Devens is going to win. He's got an idol. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. I'm rooting for him, but I just don't know if he's going to get there or not. Up next, we have Gavin. Now, Gavin is probably my favorite person from the original Kama tribe to play, and that's still in the game. I really liked Gavin. He's got the southern accent, kind of similar to what Nick had last year, to what Donathan had in the season before the last season. So yeah, he seems like one of those guys, and he just seems like he's a really nice person. He's playing pretty hard. The one question for him is, can he somehow navigate around Rick Devens' immunity idols and try and basically win himself into the top 3? That's really the main question mark for Gavin. Up next, we have Julie, and Julie is the one person left in the game that I don't think has any chance of winning. I just think she kind of took a back seat after the merge. She hasn't really made any big moves. She had that one confessional where she wanted to get rid of Kelly Wentworth at the merge, and then she wanted to get rid of Aurora for a while, but neither of those really panned out for her. So yeah, she hasn't really made any big moves, so I don't really see how she wins. Up next, we have Lauren, and Lauren was an early favorite of mine. She kind of took a backseat at the merge as well, but she had a very strong pre-merge game. She found an idol, and Kelly Wentworth is the only person that she told about it. But yeah, so yeah, no one knows about the idol right now. The question for her is, depending on who the Edge of Extinction returnee is, if that person was voted out before Kelly Wentworth, then there's a good chance that that person knows about Lauren's idol, because Kelly Wentworth actually told everybody on Edge of Extinction about Lauren's idol. She told everyone that was there. So yeah, it makes me wonder, like, if the person who comes back was voted off before Kelly Wentworth, then is Lauren going to be forced to play her idol? Who knows? Or is that person going to want to target Lauren? Who knows? So yeah, that's really the big thing with her. And the other thing is, like, how does she win if she gets to the end? Especially if she's up against someone like Gavin or Rick Devens. How does she win in that scenario? I really don't know. So, yeah, big question mark for her as well. She is a fighter, though. Like, we saw how she basically fainted in the, I think it was Final 12 immunity challenge, where they were standing up on that perch trying to balance the block on their head, and then she just basically collapsed off that challenge, and she was so embarrassed by it. She wasn't even worried about her own health. She was just embarrassed. So, yeah, I think she's a big fighter. I'd love to see her win. So, yeah, up next we have Victoria, and Victoria's another big question mark, because like Lauren, she had a pretty big pre-merge game. I mean, she pretty much orchestrated the blindside of Aubrey in the pre-merge. But again, she hasn't really done too much since. I guess there was the Ron vote, but she didn't even vote for Ron, I don't think. So I don't really know about her. I don't know if she can win or not. She'll get votes, I'm sure, if she's in the final three, but I just don't know. So yeah, like really, I think anybody could win except for Julie, and depending on who the Edge of Extinction attorney is, there's only a few that I think have a chance of winning. So yeah, I really don't know. With that being said, let's get into the Edge of Extinction people. So Edge of Extinction, it was a pretty mixed bag for me. I like that players are given a second chance with an opportunity to come back in the game. However, the main issue I have with Edge of Extinction is, one, people on Edge of Extinction should not be given any kind of advantage. Now, if you're going to be given an advantage to send to somebody in the game, that's a little bit different, but still, I'm kind of on the fence about that. But yeah, advantages like practice for a challenge, like what Aubrey got, or I think, did Rick get it in the pre-merge? I don't remember. I think it was Rick. But yeah, and then the disadvantage that Keith got that he gave to Chris. Like, I don't think those types of advantages should be allowed on Edge of Extinction. And then the other big issue with Edge of Extinction that I have is the fact that the pre-merge boots are still there. So yeah, Reem, Chris, and Aubrey, I don't think any of them should still be in the game. I think they all should have gone home after Rick won the first Edge of Extinction challenge. So yeah, and the fact that those three are now on the jury, even though they were voted off pre-merge. So yeah, you have Reem, who was voted off on day 3. She doesn't even know some of the people that are still in the game. Like, she's never met Gavin. She's never met Victoria. So yeah, and Julie. She's never met Julie. So she doesn't even know some of the people that are in the game. And like, if those three are the final three, Gavin, Victoria, Julie, if those three are the final three, who does she vote for? Like, we really don't know. So, yeah, and like Aubrey doesn't even know Lauren. They were never on the same tribe. So, yeah, I just don't think that's really fair that those three are still in the game, and especially if one of them ends up returning from Edge of Extinction, like, they're probably just going to get dragged to the end because they know they're not going to win. But although I guess it depends on how people still in the game see the Edge of Extinction attorney. Like, are they going to see him as a goat because they were never in the game that much, or are they going to see him like, oh no, they hung out with the people that are going to be on the jury forever, so the people on the jury might vote for them to win. It really depends on how they view that. And yeah, that's the other thing. Like, if the Edge of Extinction attorney makes it to the final 3, like, since they hung out with the jury, like, with the exception of Aurora and maybe Ron, like, they've hung out with with the people that are going to be on the jury for so long, like, especially Chris, Reem, and Aubrey. If they make it to the final 3, are they going to get jury votes because they have the best relationship with the jury members? Like, I really don't know how that's going to work. So, yeah, big question mark right there. But with that being said, let's get into the Edge of Extinction attorneys. Reem, I don't think she has a chance to win the Edge of Extinction challenge, and even if she did, I still don't think she wins. So yeah, we can kind of cut her off. She was basically just there to yell at everybody who voted for her after they arrive at the Edge of Extinction. She did that with Kelly Wentworth, and she did that with War Dog. So yeah. And there's like a big list of people that I don't think have any chance of winning the Edge of Extinction challenge. Reem is one of them. So, yeah. Up next, we have Chris. Now, I think Chris can very well win the Edge of Extinction challenge. And he's actually been getting some decent amount of confessionals out on Edge of Extinction. Like we saw in the last episode where he was reading that letter to himself on his little rock throne out in the middle of the ocean. And he had a pretty good moment there. And he's had a few of those moments, actually. So I do think, and he looks like a physical threat. So I do think he's got a pretty good shot of coming back into the game. The question is, does he win? I really don't think he does. I feel like the only votes he would get are Reem, maybe Aubrey. Although, again, it depends on who's in the final 3. So, yeah. Other than that, I don't really think he has much of a chance to win because he wasn't in the game that much. I mean, why would you want to vote for somebody that was barely even in the game, unless like you have a really good relationship with them out on the Edge of Extinction. And maybe that they are playing like some sort of strategical game out there. Although I don't know why that would happen, but maybe they're doing something that they're not showing us. So yeah, like really, who knows? Up next, we have Aubrey. Now, Aubrey, the only reason I think she could potentially have a chance to get back into the game is because she got that practice advantage back when I forgot who was voted out. It was either Joe or Eric. I think after their boots, like, is when she got that advantage, and she's had some time to practice on that for a while. And we saw a little bit of it. It's like it's like you're tied to a rope and you're basically trying to navigate around the rope, and the rope is tied around a pole, and like there's other ropes you have to pull to and like go through. So yeah, I think that's what we saw of her. It looks, and I did see a small like 45-second preview on YouTube of the challenge, and it looked like it was the second part of the challenge. So yeah, of course, the first Edge of Extinction challenge had a lot of different aspects to it. Like the practice part was where you tie the little pieces of bamboo together, and then you're trying to reach through a cage to get a key. Like I think it was Rick that had that, and like that was only one section of the challenge. There was like 5 sections of that challenge. So yeah, there's probably going to be 5 sections to this one as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see like how that advantage helps her. If she did not have that advantage, I would write her off on the list of people that I don't think have a chance to get back in the game. And even if she did get back into the game, I don't think she wins. Like, no one's going to want to vote for a 3-time returning player who was voted out pre-merge and then like just finally made her way back into the game. Like, especially since the newbies like they had they're playing the game for the first time. Like, Aubrey's had her chance twice. So why would anyone want to vote for her after she was voted off pre-merge? You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't really think she has much of a chance to win if she got back into the game. Up next, we have Joe. And Joe, he's probably the favorite to win the Edge of Extinction challenge. I mean, we've seen him compete in challenges. He's a beast. He basically carried the entire Kama tribe pre-merge to win every single challenge. I guarantee you, if he's not on that tribe, they go to at least 2 tribal councils, probably 3 or more. Like, Joe literally carried them, pretty much. So, yeah. Like, Joe, he has to be the heavy favorite to win the challenge. And we've seen him before in previous seasons. He won the first 4 immunity challenges in Survivor Cambodia, and Survivor Worlds Apart, he won the first 2, I think. So, yeah, he's a big challenge beast. But, again, same thing with Aubrey. If he gets back into the game, like, this is his 3rd chance. Would anybody want to vote for him to win on their 3rd chance after they were voted off at the merge? I don't think so. So, yeah, as much as I love Joe, I just don't think he has any chance of winning the game. Up next, we have Eric. Now, Eric is an interesting one because I think he could get a lot of votes. Like, he seems like the type of guy that could potentially reel in some votes at the end. Again, depending on who the final 3 are. And he seems like a guy that's highly respected by the jury, and he seems like someone who could win a few immunity challenges. And I do think he could win the Edge of Extinction challenge. The question is, again, would you want to vote for someone to win the game after they were voted off at Final 12? That's really the question. Like, I think Ron would vote for him. I think Julie might vote for him if Julie doesn't make it to the finals. As for everyone else, I'm not really sure. But yeah, it really depends. So yeah, I don't really know. Up next, we have Julia Carter. Now, Julia Carter is another person on my list of people that I don't think have any chance of getting back into the game at all. I just like the main reason for this is because look who they're going up against. They're going up against Joe, and they're going up against Eric and Chris and Kelly Wentworth and Aurora and all these other big challenge threats. So yeah, like Julia just doesn't seem like someone that could beat someone like Joe and Eric and Chris and Aurora. Like, I just don't see that happening. So, yeah, sorry, Julia. I don't really think you have much of a chance. And even if she did make it, I don't think she would win. Like, I just don't see how anybody would want to vote for her to win. Like, the way she played, especially at the tribal council she was voted off at, like, people were so mad at her because she basically blew up everybody's game. So, yeah, I don't see how she would get any votes at the end. Up next, we have David Wright. Now, this is David Wright's second time playing. He played in Millennials versus Gen X, and he's got kind of the same returning player syndrome as every other returning player. I don't think he has much of a chance to get back in the game, but his experience, I think, could help him a little bit. He did win a couple of immunities in Millennials versus Gen X. So, yeah. I mean, I think he has a small chance of getting back in, but not much. And even if he did, again, same with Aubrey and Joe. Like, would you really want to vote for a returning player after they were voted off before? Like, really, the only returning player that I could picture winning after being on, like, Redemption Island or something like that was Ozzy from South Pacific. Simply because the rest of the jury hated Coach Sophie and Albert. So I think Ozzy would have won that season if he had made it to the end, simply because the jury hated everybody else in that Upolu Alliance. Like, in this season, I don't really think too many players hate each other. I don't think anybody really hates Gavin. I don't think anybody hates Victoria. I don't really think anybody besides maybe Reem hates Lauren. I don't think anybody really hates Julie all that much. Although, again, I still don't think Julie wins simply because she hasn't really made any strategic moves. And I don't really think anybody hates Rick Devens all that much. Again, except maybe Chris and Reem. So, yeah. I think the person who gets to the end, like, no one really hates any of them there. So, yeah. And with David, like, again, returning player. And then same thing with Kelly Wentworth. Like, I think Kelly Wentworth could get back into the game, but I don't think she wins because pretty much the same reason as David, especially since this is her third chance again. And she got voted out with an idol in her pocket, which makes it even worse. Like, she probably, if she really wanted to have a chance to win, she probably shouldn't have told him about the idol because the whole jury knows about it. Now, people on the jury like Kelly Wentworth, except maybe for Reem and Chris, but yeah. Yeah, I still don't, like, especially if she was up against Lauren in the finals, I think Lauren would have a better chance to win. Simply because she wasn't voted out and she's not a returning player. So, yeah, I love Kelly Wentworth to death. She's one of my favorites. She's one of my favorite female players to ever play the game, and she's one of my biggest Survivor crushes, but I just don't think she can win this season, given the circumstances. So, yeah, I'm sorry to say that, Kelly, but I think it's true. Up next, we have War Dog. Now, War Dog is one of the few people that I think if they got back into the game, I think could win, because he made a lot of big strategic moves before he was voted out. However, I don't think he can get back in. I mean, we've seen him in challenges. He was terrible in challenges. Absolutely terrible. He was the first out in a lot of the individual immunity challenges, and even in pre-merge. Like, we saw him try and throw those sandbags at those targets. He was low on every one. It was like a pitcher trying to throw a curveball, and he throws a changeup into the grass like 15 feet before home plate. That's what it reminded me of. So, yeah, I don't really think War Dog has much of a chance to get back into the game. But if he does, he's one of the few people that I could see potentially winning if they got rid of Rick Devens, and he'd probably have to get rid of Lauren as well. But I think if he got to the end, I think he could get a lot of votes. And then up next is Ron. I don't think Ron can win the Edge of Extinction challenge, and I don't think he can win the game. So, yeah, I think the only person that might vote for him is Julie, if Julie's voted out before the final three. But, yeah, that's really it. And then you have Aurora. And Aurora, she's fresh out of the game. So, everybody in the game knows her game. And I think she could get back into the game. She's a pretty big challenge beast. So, she won 2 immunity challenges. And she's made a few more subtle moves, So I do think she would have a chance to win. It would just be like as if she never left. So yeah, if Aurora got back in, I think she's another one that could potentially get votes at the end, especially from someone like Joe, who was always in a big alliance with her and was always making moves with her pre-merge, although they never really made any moves because they never went to tribal. So, but yeah, like she did have that alliance with Joe. So yeah, there's all the Edge of Extinction returnees. Now let's talk about some predictions. Now, for my prediction, I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I'm sure a lot of people are going to predict Joe or maybe Chris. I'm going to predict Eric makes it back into the game out of Edge of Extinction because Eric, like, he had a pretty good edit. He had a good few amount of confessionals while he was out there on Edge of Extinction, mainly in the episode after his boot, but he did have some very good confessionals out there. So it makes me think that Eric's going to be the one to return from Edge of Extinction. And like with Rick, I do think Eric is going to get some kind of immunity idol advantage, but it's going to force him to play it at Final 6, I think, because you don't want it to force him to play it at Final 6 or Final 5, because then that's just going to give him a free pass into the Final 4, where all you have to do is make a fire to get into the Final 3. So yeah, I think he will get an advantage, but I think he'll have to play it at the first tribal council he goes to. So yeah, I think Eric's going to be the one to get back in, and here's what I think is going to happen at Final 6. A lot of people are saying Gavin's going to be the one voted out at Final 6, but here's what I think. I think Gavin's going to win immunity at Final 6, and I think because of that, Rick knows he'll have to play his idol. And I think since Eric knows about Lauren's idol, I think he's going to reveal to Rick and Julie. I think he'll join up with Rick and Julie. I don't see him going back with Gavin, Victoria, and Lauren. So I think he'll join up with Rick and Julie, and I think that he'll tell them about Lauren's idol. They'll target Lauren, but I think Lauren's going to catch wind of it somehow, and then Lauren is going to play her immunity idol. So I think Rick and Lauren both play their idols. I think Eric plays whatever advantage he has. So that negates all votes against them. And plus Gavin has immunity, so he can't go home. And then I think that, so at that point, Victoria and Julie are the only ones that can get votes. And I think if they do a revote, I think it's still going to be deadlocked. I think Julie and Victoria are going to be deadlocked. They're going to be forced into a tiebreaker, whether that's a fire-making challenge since it's just two of them, or it's just the two of them drawing rocks. I think Victoria is ultimately going to beat Julie in that challenge, or whatever the tiebreaker is. I think Victoria is going to win the tiebreaker, and Julie's going to go to the jury. So yes, that leaves us with a final 5 of Eric, Rick, Julie, or no, not Julie. Eric, Rick, Gavin, Lauren, and Victoria. Now, at this point, no one has any immunity idols, but I do think Rick will be smart enough to find one. He's reminding me a lot of Ben from Heroes Healers Hustlers, which, by the way, that season was not rigged, all you haters out there. Yeah, a lot of people still complain to this day about that season being rigged for Ben, even though Ben was the only one to look for immunity idols. Dummies. So, yeah. I mean, at least in this season, Lauren tried to find an idol to keep it out of Rick's hands. And they're like, oh, but they could have just voted Ben off anyway. Like, at least go find the idol to get it out of Ben's hands. My God. It's not that hard to figure out. So, yeah. But I do think Rick is going to end up finding another idol. But then I think Rick's going to win immunity at the Final 5. So that's going to be... So then Rick is going to have an idol to play for somebody. And I do think he's going to play it for Eric. I think they're going to target Eric because, I mean, he's known some of the... I think they're going to figure out that he's known a lot of the jury members for so long. He's probably going to get a lot of respect from the jury, so they're going to want to vote for him. And I think ultimately Rick's going to win. Rick's going to win immunity. I think he'll play his idol on Eric. And I think the two of them target Gavin simply because Gavin would be the biggest threat to beat Rick in an immunity challenge. So... yeah, I think Rick would want to get rid of Gavin, so I think Gavin's just going to end up taking the bullet. Again, as much as I love Gavin, I just don't think he can get there. So, yeah, that brings us to a final four of Eric, Rick, Victoria, and Lauren. So at this point, like, it's pretty much 2-on-2, but I think it's going to be every man for themselves. They're going to realize who the threats are. They know that they'll have to put Rick up in a fire-making challenge, like whoever wins immunity, which I think will be Eric. I think Eric's going to win that final immunity challenge, and I think he's going to take Victoria with him, simply because, like, Lauren's been talking about fire a lot for some reason in all of her confessionals. Like, she's been talking about fire, which makes it seem like she's going to be one of the people in the fire making challenge at Final Four. And I think she will go up against Rick, and I think she will lose. I think that's where Lauren ultimately falls short, is in the fire making challenge. So that leaves us with a final three of Rick, Victoria, and Eric. Now, let's talk about who the jury would vote for in this case. I think Victoria, or I think Gavin and Lauren would vote for Victoria. Like, they're her closest allies. I think they would vote for Victoria. As for who would vote for Rick, I think War Dog would vote for Rick. Maybe Kelly Wentworth. David would definitely vote for Rick. Maybe Reem, maybe Chris. There's a lot of people that I think could vote for Rick. But there's a lot of people that I think could vote for Eric as well. Like Joe, maybe Julia, maybe Ron, Julie. I could see them all voting for Eric. So, yeah. But either way, I do think Rick will end up winning either in a 7-4-2 vote or a 6-5-2 vote. Either way, I think Rick ends up winning the season. I just like the way it's edited. It makes it sound like Rick is an obvious winner at this point. He's getting a similar edit to what Ben got in Healers, Hustlers, so I just don't see how Rick loses if he gets to the end. But yeah, let's talk about who everyone's going to vote for. Reem of the final, and I'm just going to go over I'm not going to go over any Edge of Extinction returnees. Like the final five remaining. Who does Reem vote for? I think she votes for one of the comma people simply because like they didn't vote her out. Because Rick voted against her and Lauren voted against her. She hates Lauren, so like although like Rick did hang out with her on Edge of Extinction for a little bit, the question is, will she have forgiven Rick for voting her at the time? I don't really know, but yeah, I think she'll end up voting one of the commas. Chris, kind of the same thing. Like, I don't remember. Did Rick vote for Chris? I don't remember. But I know Lauren did. So, yeah. I think Chris is in kind of the same spot as Reem. And I think they're going to end up voting one of the comma people simply because they don't know any of them. So, yeah, again, that brings me back to the problem I have with the pre-merge boots being on the jury. Like, it just doesn't seem quite as fair. Because they don't know the other people's games. They just, like, don't want to vote for the others because they voted them out. So, yeah. Aubrey knows some of the comma people, like Gavin and Victoria especially, and especially Victoria. Like, she put all her trust into Victoria on the episode where she was voted out. And then Victoria pretty much played her perfectly and got rid of her. So I think, for that reason, I think Aubrey votes for Victoria at the end. But I do think she could also vote for Gavin. So, yeah, and I probably should have mentioned Aubrey voting for Victoria in my final three predictions. But either way, I still think Rick would win. I don't think it would really matter. So, yeah, I think Aubrey would vote for Victoria. Joe is a little bit tougher to predict because, I mean, the old comma people blindsided him, but like, he didn't really know Lauren all that well. He only knew Lauren for a short time, and same with Rick. He didn't really know Rick all that well. So would he vote for Rick, or would he vote for the people that voted him out? It really comes down to that. I think ultimately he would vote for Rick, because he's the type of person that always goes into the jury speeches with an open mind. So I think for that reason, I think he would end up voting for Rick. I mean, he voted for Jeremy in Cambodia, and I think he voted for Mike in Worlds Apart. So yeah, I think Joe just, like, he kind of goes with the flow and votes for the majority, which I think would be Rick. Up next, we got Eric. Now, Eric is a little bit tougher to predict because his own comma people besides Julie blindsided him. So I think for that reason, I think he would vote for Rick as well. Maybe Julie, but I think more than likely Rick. Julia, again, I don't really know where she stands because everybody voted her out except for Aurora. But if Aurora's not in the game, then who does she vote for? My guess is Gavin. I don't think she would vote for Julie. I don't really know if she would vote for Victoria or not. I think either Gavin or Victoria. She doesn't really like Rick all that much, so I don't really see her voting for Rick. She called Rick a passenger at one point during that crazy tribal. So, yeah, I don't really see her voting for Rick. I think she votes for Gavin first, and then maybe Victoria. But, again, I don't really know. Up next, you got David. David, hands down, is voting for Rick if Rick is in the finals. After that, then probably Lauren, maybe Gavin. I don't really know after that. But if Rick's in the finals, hands down, he's voting for Rick. And same thing with Kelly Wentworth. I think Kelly Wentworth, hands down, votes for Lauren if she's in the finals. Lauren was her closest ally from the beginning, so yeah. And she's the only one that knows about Lauren's idol of the 5 people still in the game. Or, like, she's the only one... Or actually, no, everyone else... What am I trying to say here? Like, she knows about Lauren's idol. She could tell everybody out there that Lauren had an idol. Of course, Lauren will probably play her idol at some point. So everyone at that point is going to know about it. But, yeah. Like, she could easily vouch for Lauren, saying, like, Lauren had an idol. No one else knew about that except for me. So, yeah, I think she played well. But, yeah, I think she hands down votes for Lauren if Lauren's in the final 3. Up next, we have War Dog, and I think War Dog also votes for Rick, much like David. But I think he would consider Lauren if Rick isn't there and Lauren is. I think he would vote for Lauren as like a second choice. Because like he was with Lauren, and then Lauren turned around and voted him out. And I think he respects the game enough to where he's not going to be bitter at all. I think he'll vote for Rick or Lauren if they make it to the finals, like depending on who makes it to the finals. So, yeah, that's just what I think. Up next, we have Ron. I think Ron is the one person that would vote for Julie if Julie made it to the final 3. If Julie doesn't make it to the final 3, I think he votes Rick. Like, if neither of them make it to the final 3, I really don't know. I don't know if she'd want to vote. Like, probably Victoria, because I think Victoria was the one that didn't vote for him, even though she was in on that plan to get rid of Ron. So, yeah. That's what I think. I think Julie first, then Rick. And then you have Aurora, who is fresh out of the game. And I think, like, Aurora, if she got back into the game, I don't think she would side with Rick because she even told him, get him out. Get Rick out as she was leaving. So, yeah. Now, if that's the case where Rick is in the final 3, she would probably I could see her being like, I told you to get Rick out. You didn't get Rick out. Rick deserves to win. So for that reason, I could see her voting for Rick. I could also see her maybe voting for Victoria. Like we saw back in the final 12 where it was her and Victoria as the last 2 standing. So, I mean, I could see her voting for Victoria as well. I don't think she votes Julie. I don't really know if she votes Lauren or not. Same with Gavin, I don't really know. Maybe she votes Gavin because, like, she put a lot of trust into Gavin with the extra vote, and Gavin came through with that. So maybe she votes Gavin because of that. There's a lot of things to think about with this. But yeah, that's just all the Edge of Extinction people. We don't know who else is going to be on the jury. I think Gavin and Victoria would vote for each other if either of them made it to the final 3, and the other one didn't. I think Lauren would probably vote for Rick if he made it to the end. Maybe Gavin and Victoria. I don't know. I think Julie would vote for Rick for sure. And if Rick were on the jury, I think Rick would vote Lauren. I think that's where he would go. Maybe Gavin, but I think more than likely Lauren. So yeah, there's my Survivor finale preview for you all. It's 35 minutes. Wow, that was a long video. But yeah, if you stayed through, the whole thing, then I'm happy. So, yeah. What do you guys think about the Survivor Edge of Extinction finale? What do you think is going to happen? Let me know down in the comments below what your predictions for the finale are going to be. Who do you think returns from Edge of Extinction? Who do you think wins immunity challenges? Who do you think is in the final three? Who do you think wins the game? So make sure to let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content to come in the future. And until next time, once again, my name is the California Cougar. And always remember to stay California cool. Peace.